Married.
Hi.
Hello.
Welcome.
Howdy.
So this is what the hat. I think he's used all his regular hats. So this is.
Oh yeah, all my regular hats. But I have one more surprise for next week.
This is what we have gotten to now. But welcome to another episode of Living Married.
We are living
married. I got it.
It only took 3 episodes.
So thanks so much for tuning in. We're really excited. It is hot.
This is hot.
But it feels good because we both have on sleep. Well, I have on sleeveless. You have on short sleeve, so it's comfortable. We're really excited because we're 1 week away from our first anniversary. 1 week away. 1 week away. So that's very exciting.
I'm excited about our anniversary. We're going to, so as I was about to say many, but probably as all of you all know.
And if you don't know, go watch all the episodes before this.
We have, I don't know we have twins. So while we probably would have wanted to take a long trip, a week, extended weekend or something, we have twins. And thus, and we had premature twins. And so we don't want to go too far. We don't want to go too long. And we have twins, so we don't have a whole bunch of money for that. We got a whole bunch of money for that.
Most importantly.
But we are going to go away for a short weekend and spend some time just together to have an amazing weekend with my beautiful wife.
My handsome husband.
To love on her and to spend time. My God.
But no more twins.
No more twins. And just to spend time together with just us two. It's been a lot going on this year, and we've done a really good job. Actually, that might be what we kind of came into this saying. We don't really know what we're gonna talk about. We're just gonna be led and see what happens.
Let's just talk.
But I am excited about going and just it being Antoinette and I. And while we know we'll need to call and check in on twins, and I'm sure we'll get phone calls, just as updates and things are going on. We just get to it's just us, and it's just gonna be us. And while we still do date nights and we still do those things and spend time while they're asleep now over there. It'll be
we
good
need to get up or anything. That's why.
But it'll be good just to be just with my wife. So let's talk about how kids change your life. Not only you change your life, kids change your life, especially if you have it in the first year.
Especially if you have it in the first year. Okay, so that's a good topic.
And how you continue to. I'm building the topic right now, so catch hold here.
I told him earlier, side note, how, and we said at the beginning of our marriage, this is a tangent, by the way. We said at the beginning of our marriage that I set out to do things, but I am a very, what do you call me? I have a very multitasking mind. And I can start something, pick up a project, drop it, never resurface back to it or never come back to it for a while or whatever. So, but Maurice, he's the stick to it person. He's the see a project from the beginning to the end. Cut it off. So we're very different in that way, but we balance each other because sometimes he may not have the vision, the creativity or whatever, but he's the one that sees it through. So it balances because you need that person to start it off, but then you need that person to finish it off. Anyway, said that to say he's now telling me what we're going to talk about today. So, yes. What else?
So we're going to talk about having kids in the first year And in having kids in the first year, well, kids, because we just happened upon some twins. But
this hat is funny.
But how to have kids in the first year, but still continue to define our marriage based on us, and not just us being Gordon and Winston's parents.
That's a great topic, and it's really a great topic because a lot of people, even people that have been married for longer than we were when we had the twins, they say they lose themselves in parenthood and in the experience with the children.
Yeah,
so it really can be. So last two nights ago, we went on a date, and I said when we got in the car that it's so...
Push pause, because you have to say this. So we were supposed to go on a double date.
Oh, okay.
We were supposed to go on a double date.
If you're watching this, couple that we didn't. No, I'm just kidding.
No, Steven and Lauren, we were supposed to go on a double date. And of course, we're all grown and stuff comes up. So they had to cancel and we postponed until next weekend. We'll still, November 11th is the weekend of that, Steven and I.
That's Veterans Day. No.
What? So
it is Veterans Day, y'all.
We were supposed to go out with them. They ended up having to postpone it until next weekend. And so we were in the midst of getting ready, and we had someone coming in. Of course, we had to get a sitter because that is our life now. And so the sitter was here, and we were getting ready to go, and then we got the message. And I told Antoinette, and she was like, "Oh, well, we'll just stay here. We'll have date night here with Auntie Danny and the kids." And I was like, No. Our life is not centered solely around them. So even though the plans have changed, this is still set aside time that we are able to have with just us two to go out. So even in that moment, she still wanted to stay here with the kids and the sitter and with Auntie Danny,
which was crazy.
What? But so we got in the car and we still went. And
it's amazing because I didn't even think twice about when the moment he told me that they had canceled. Immediately, I was like, okay, well, I guess we're just staying here. So anyway, when we got in the car, I said, it's really amazing that we are setting this time aside and saying this is what we're going to do, because we did have children so early. We have to be very, very intentional about setting the time aside, because as I'm sure you all have heard people say, 18 years from now, we'll be looking at each other like, who are you? Because everything has centered around children. So we're really trying not to do that. So earlier that day, the reason I said that was because earlier that day, I had seen a post on the twin parenting group, one of the twin parenting groups that I'm on, that said, someone posed a question, when was the last time you went on a date after having the twins? And people were saying, I haven't been on a date in 7 years. We've been on a date twice since the twins were born. People were saying things that were just ridiculous. And I said, well, when the babies were in the NICU, we would do different things because that was our release, because we were spending all of our time there and we basically lived there. Mm-hmm. So being able to have an outlet was our thing. And then once they both got home, Winston's only been home for a month. And we had already been on 3 dates at the time of that post. And so I didn't say anything in the group because I didn't want anybody
bragging.
Right. We date every week. But it is so, so very important. And we are fortunate and blessed enough to be surrounded by people that are willing to, step in and help us with the twins. And it's so important for your mind just to have an outlet, have something outside of the home, outside of, just the children. And then sometimes
outside of diapers, outside of crying, outside of feeding, outside of
waking up in the middle of the night, all those crazy things.
Outside of those things.
Because I remember on one of our first dates when I was about to go back to work, I had started saying something about the children when we were at dinner, and Marie said, okay, this is going to be the last question about them. This is going to be the last thing about them. Do you need to call? Do you need to do whatever? Say the last set of things about them, because we need to talk about us, about how this transition is going to look, and all of those things. So it has been really interesting. And I will say, because in the last video we talked about how we wanted time before having the children.
There are no technical difficulties. You can just keep talking. Bless you, woman of God.
We wanted time before having the children. And I thought that it would have been much more difficult, I think.
I agree.
Did you?
Yeah. So Janelle Preston, shout out to you if you're watching this.
You should be watching this.
Told me before Antoinette and I were dating for anything, she was like, you want to wait when you get married. You want to have years to just you two, so y'all can learn and develop and get your routine together and get how you do things, learn how each other ticks, etc., etc. So I kind of taken that to heart, and so when Nisi and I got married, and I think she's told this story before, like I wanted to wait 5 years and she didn't want to wait that long. Then I was like, oh, I want him immediately, and she wanted to wait, and we went back and forth and blah blah blah, and then
I guess you won.
3.5 weeks later we were pregnant. But I had gotten that in my mind because I thought it was going to be so difficult. I thought it was going to be hard. I thought that with one, it was just going to be extremely difficult to make time for ourselves, let alone with two who were almost 10 weeks premature, let alone with two who combined spent over 100 days in the hospital, let alone with just having two and being newly married and not even being in for a year.
And not even knowing I don't want to say not knowing each other, but not knowing some very key things about each other. Like, of course, we invested that time before getting to know each other and all of those things. But it is on a different level being in the same home, combining finances, combining bodies.
You're so childish.
Being physically intimate. All of those things. It's just a whole different level of everything. So having that church time, I really did think that it was going to be a whirlwind. And I say a whirlwind now, but I thought it would have been totally different. But
it really hasn't.
God has really allowed us to, and we always say that keeping Jesus at the center of everything is what has been the key for us. And that couldn't be more true in the case of having the children early, because you realize...
Oh, were you about to go into hierarchy? Or not hierarchy, but priority? No,
but go ahead.
I thought you were going to go, because even the Bible
go ahead.
Says that God is to be the head. The woman is to follow the direction of the husband as he follows Christ, and then the kids are to follow the parents. So even in the Bible, it's God. So check, we got that, and then it's each other. Mm-hmm. So we need to make sure we have that check, and then it's the kids, and not that we don't spend time with our kids, not that you not pay attention to your children, but understanding where priorities should lie. Because if you give them all your time, if you give them all of your energy, then hypothetically, if we were to do that, we might not last. And then if we don't last, we're not giving our kids the best, quality, the quality life that they should have, with two parents who love God, who love them, and who want to have the best home and best environment for them.
Yeah. So
know your priorities. Prioritize.
Know your priorities. And
I guess would be
Jesus at the center of it all, because he, and we have always said this, he knows what your timeline, all of that is supposed to be before you know it, because you'd be too foolish to plan it. Mm-hmm. And so he gives us all that we need in order to fulfill his will and his plans. in the timing that he desires. So we didn't know that we had all that we needed at that time, but he showed us that we had all that we needed at that time. And this is not to say, please, we're not certified counselors or anything, so don't take this video and say, they said we need to have a child this year. Because some people might not need to have them in 5 years. Some people might not need to have them, period.
That's what it is.
Sorry. Because things are just different. But if God has ordained your marriage and he's ordained these beautiful lives to come at the set time that he has named and has decided, then he will allow everything to really fall into place, and it can be a strength. Now, our situation ended up being so different because, when we first found out about the pregnancy, that was one thing. We were so excited, so until we got to the point of learning the intensity of the growth restriction, the growth restriction that Winston had. So we found this out in May. So I had been, I was 5 months pregnant at the time. 6 months pregnant.
Stories start to get
6-ish months pregnant at the time. 20, oh my gosh, no.
23-ish, right? I was somewhere around 23 weeks.
Because then, no, 25. Those went back at 27.
Somewhere around 23.
Mm-hmm. So 25 is around 23?
Of course.
Okay. So 25 weeks. And things just went really crazy at that point. And it was, the pregnancy had taken its toll, but I think that was more of a positive thing. And then when the growth restriction happened, we found out that they would definitely be premature no matter what. That was more difficult. And we had to find a renewed faith and a renewed source of strength. And that was trying. And most people wouldn't deal with this situation. So we have just so much craziness. And
you find, you start to find, of course, you want to spend time with your spouse, but you start finding ways or reasons why it's beneficial for you all. So Nisi just said, we had to get a renewed faith. Of course, we sought Christ for that, but then we found strength in each other. And we would always say this, that we never had bad days at the same time. Bad days at the same time be terrible. Right. So she would be, questioning, why is this happening? All these things. And I would be, straight, we're built for this. This is in our cup. Thank you, Pastor Etan. This is in our cup. So whatever we're supposed to deal with, God has put it in our cup specifically for us to handle. And then she would be fine. She would be good and golden. And then I would be like, I am so, especially when they were in the NICU. Oh my goodness. I was having some days. I was like, I hate Wake Med. I don't ever want to see that campus again.
This hallway,
all these nurses. I don't like any of this. And Nisi will be like, babe, you have got to be strong. We're supposed to be doing this. This is not an easy thing at all, but God has already given us what we needed for it. So what we have found out is that our strength lies in God, but our strength also lies in each other.
Through God. Because He is... In the earlier video, I think the first video, we talked about how we are called as spouses to assist our husband, our wife in becoming the person that God wants them to be. So because we are connected and because we are under this covenant with God and with each other, He places within us those things that our spouses need in order to build their faith and sharpen them to become who they're supposed to be. So this experience with the twins really, really forced us to pour in each other what was already in us to give to them. And I think that experiences in our marriage or whatever types of relationships we're in, but particularly marriage because it is the ultimate covenant that God has established, it pulls on us to deliver what God has placed in us. Because sometimes you can hold on to these things and not want to do it for whatever reason. But when you are in certain situations, you have to give out those things that God has placed in you to give, because otherwise things will begin to fall off and the relationship will begin to deteriorate and things will begin to kind of go down. But God has already given us all that we need to keep it thriving and going.
And how can you give those things to your spouse? How can you pour yourself, your strengths unto them to help them if you don't spend time together, if you don't go on dates, if you don't close the door and just be with you two, if you don't sit down at a table? What? We've closed many a door. If you don't sit down at a table and eat together
and not have your phone,
if you don't put the baby down and let them whimper a little bit and then just be us two. We both have that where we have to say, she's fine, he's fine, they are going to be okay. Just put them down and let us continue. If we were having a conversation, if we were just simply eating,
I'm terrible at that. Terrible.
If we were just watching a movie, but whatever it is, this is Maurice and Antoine's time. And Gordon and Winston, they are going to have plenty of time. But our time needs to be intentional, needs to be set apart from complete family time.
And it's sacred. It's really powerful.
It is.
God desires for us to build. And it's just like when we think about marriage is an example of the covenant that we share with God. So Christ and his bride, the church, we are called to spend time with him, to pray, to fast, to study, and all of these things as an act of intimacy, as an opportunity to get closer to him. And so that is the model that we have for our relationship with our spouses. And we have to intentionally set aside that time. It may not always be convenient. It may not always be easy. It may not always fit into the schedule or with the children or whatever, but it's time that you have to set aside in order to guard and protect that covenant. Because the enemy, I posted something about this on Facebook recently, the enemy is after marriages. He's after godly marriages, 100%. Marriages that honor Christ. So we have to be intentional. If we know that we have an adversary and we know we have, the enemy that is trying to attack and trying to bring those things that could destroy, then we have to be intentional about what we do to combat those forces that he sends. So all the aspects of intimacy, talking to each other, laughing with each other, having serious conversations about, the future, about what we're going to do about this. It's not always a happy thing, but you have to be open in dialogue, spending time going out, spending time with others, with family and friends,
right.
Physical intimacy.
And I think this is
all the levels.
It's for parents. This probably traverses a lot of different family dynamics. So for us being newlyweds and having kids, it's for us. For people being married for 3 or 4 years and then having kids, you still need to spend time with each other. You still need to make ways for that sacred time. For parents with 7, 8-year-old, 9-year-old kids, you still have to make time with each other because, as Nikki said, they're gonna leave, and then y'all gonna be left with each other looking all crazy and sad. And we
don't want y'all to look crazy. But when you said that about us having children very early, and then someone having children 3 or 4 years, and then facing whatever those struggles are, honestly, now that I think about it, it may be more difficult. And I guess everything is, you evaluate things based on just what's going on at that time. But it could be more difficult for those people because we've never known a life.
We've never known
without
right.
Okay, a month worth of it. So our experience I'm saying until we found out, it was like a month and a half. So.
But your body, you would already you were already feeling motherly. You were like, I feel like I'm pregnant. I was like, shut up. Then you were like, you're pregnant. And then you were like, I feel like I'm having twins. I was like, she's crazy. And then we were having twins. And
I know, it's crazy.
She is truly a prophetess. She is truly.
Thank you for that story. So we've never known a life outside of this. Like, this has been all that we came into it basically with. But see, I hate to say we came into it like this because then people be like, I've never seen it, but we weren't saying.
We weren't.
As opposed to someone that has established their life for 3 or 4 years, and then so they completely had to change everything. We didn't have to change that much, honestly, because this just became the norm as opposed to those that are outside. So, and I think that's a thing that we have a tendency to do is to compare our experiences with others and say, oh, well, this is easier, or this is harder, or this is more difficult. Honestly, all of it's probably difficult because it's a life change, a major life change for anybody. So don't compare yourself to other people. Just understand that
just do you.
Whenever it is, it's going to be a transition. It's going to be a challenge. And
it's not something that you just sweep under the rug and say, oh, we'll figure it out. No. Let's talk about how we're going to figure this out. So does this mean that we're going to have monthly dates? Okay. Does it mean we're going to have bi-monthly dates depending on how your relationship is set up? Does it mean that a date doesn't necessarily need to be outside of the home? Does it mean we sit down and we have dinner and do that? What does that mean for you, and that will make it work for you all? For us, we have not had difficulty going out on dates because we talked about it. We knew that this is what we wanted to do. It just had to be implemented.
And we've had a lot of support.
We have a lot of support. We're getting comfortable with more people coming in and being a support to be able to watch our children. To be able to watch our children. So it's not something that will just work itself out. You, as a couple, have to say, how are we, with the leadership of Christ, going to work this out so that we can continue to be a kingdom couple, so that we can continue to be a strong couple, so that we can continue to be a sane couple, so we can continue to be a couple that will sustain every test of time.
Every test of time. And then someone said on that, in response to that post, that define what that is. So we go to church a lot. So we wouldn't be like, oh, we went to church today. That was a date. But for some people that could be. But we haven't chosen that is it, because that's a frequent occurrence, and our children are there.
Right, it's not no kind of date.
And we're working.
We work hard at church.
But define
the worst date ever.
You want me to work on my date and I have to pay offering? No, I'm just playing. Just kidding. Don't marry somebody that doesn't pay tithes. But that's another.
As we wrap it up,
that's another thing. But yeah, so define what that is for you and do that. But honestly, there are people who are married without children who don't date. So this is.
We don't know how to.
Yeah,
this was a good topic.
It was a good topic. It was a great topic. It was a great topic. I think everyone can learn ways in their, if you're dating, if you're engaged, if you're married, if you are seasoned married, we all can do better about being, because life is so busy. Life's so busy. You look up and, because I'm sure those people that were responding and saying like 7 years, I don't know if they looked up and saw it or whatever, but another thing, we met a lady in the NICU who had twins and singleton, and she said that she and her husband hadn't dated in like 5 years, and they looked up and were losing their marriage because they were so lost and caught up in just the fullness of children and busyness and trying to get this one. And her kids were like a year apart. So she had the twins and then a child that was like a year younger than them. So you have to be intentional about that. And just, it's such a beautiful journey, embracing it all. Our lives have changed just immeasurably since last year,
5th,
since November 5th,
2016.
2016.
11 plus 5 equals 16. Always will.
It always will. That's our anniversary. So it's been a great year. So last year, around this time, before we got married, we did a lot of videos about, I don't even know what are those videos about.
To find them, but we're gonna do some mashup.
They were
just to let you know kind of where we were.
Pre-marriage.
Yeah, pre-marriage, little things like this, and then we'll, I guess, do some inserts or something. I'll have to see what my wife's vision is, and then help her bring it to fruition.
That's what he does. That's right, y'all. Yep. So that, be looking out for that in the next few days.
Yeah, we're gonna try to maybe give either one or two more this week because we kind of missed last week.
Our miniseries is ending, y'all. But
let us know if you want to continue.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be mini. It can be a series.
Yeah, let us know if you guys want to see more, want to hear more. We've really enjoyed sharing just some things that we've learned in our year. But we'll share the other videos, our pre-marriage interview videos. Those were really fun, and we haven't seen them since that time, so it'll be interesting to see just where our mind was back then when we were single.
Just young at heart.
Young at heart.
With no kids.
We would see, when we just like pecked on the lip.
Like
and we wouldn't get close to each other or anything. And we didn't live in the same house. I couldn't touch my
We hope y'all enjoy.
Please stay tuned for the next episode.
Coming soon.
And such. We probably won't be by this fire. It's kind of warm.
My back is done.
But this is a nice scenery. Wish you were married. No.
Living.
Married.
Ba-ba-da-ba-da-ba.
Bye-bye.
You did well.
I love y'all.